While the entire cast of Princess Bride is excellent, no other character captures our hearts as much as Inigo Montoya, the charismatic swordsman who has dedicated his life to avenging his father. And personally, we can't think of another charming swashbuckler we would want at our side for the final fight against the Netherbrain more than him. Starting off with the basics, Inigo Montoya will obviously be human. The starting class is going to be rogue. Background. For the background, I wouldn't say that any of these are an exact match, but I think the criminal background does pretty well here. He is technically a criminal after all in the movie, even though his reasoning for it is just. So this will add the deception and stealth skills. And then for the ability points, keeping in mind that this is never a perfect match, we're going to keep the strength at 8. We're going to do dex at 17 with a +2, con at 14, intelligence at 10, wisdom at 10, and then charisma, we're going to bring up to 15 with that +1 modifier. And these uneven scores will be evened out later. For the extra skill proficiencies, we're going to do athletics, acrobatics, intimidation, persuasion, and sleight of hand. I think we can pretty easily make a case for all of these. Athletics and acrobatics, we see those displayed during his sword fighting. Sleight of hand is based on dexterity, having nimble fingers. We also see that during swordplay. Intimidation, we see during his fight with the six-fingered man. And persuasion, I think we can attribute to him just being a very charismatic character. Then we have to put expertise in 2 of them, so we're going to go with athletics and acrobatics. That will do it for the basics, so we'll move on to appearance. Appearance is going to be relatively easy, but it does use a couple mods. First, we'll choose by type 2, keep that on male, whichever voice you want. And for the face, this is where the first mod comes in. You're going to want the B2 Aaron head, this one right here. And that is from the mod Mantis's Face Preset Collection 1 mod. The other mod you're going to want is from P4 Bangs Bangs Everywhere, and it's going to be listed in this JAWS. And the one that you're looking for is VCC Bramble Thicket Fringe 02. So this one right here. For the skin color, we're going to go with Warm Tone 2. For the eyes, Brown 4. Then for the hair, we're going to want the haircut called Highbrow Low Moralist. And now you can see once the hair comes in over some of those bangs, it looks like it's just one piece. And you get a little bit of that puff and curl towards the end of the hair and some messiness and curliness around the bangs. And this is as close as I could get it while messing around with the available mods. For the hair color, we can just keep it black-brown. And then for the facial hair, the closest one I saw is Pomposity. I did not find a mod with a better option. All right, and that will do it for appearance. On to the build. All right, we started with Rogue, and we're going to stay in that for a bit before swapping over to Fighter. So at level 2, you unlock your cunning actions. At level 3, it's time to choose the subclass, and obviously we're going with Swashbuckler. That's the only one that works here. This Swashbuckler subclass gives you fancy footwork and rakish audacity, and I think those are both pretty appropriate. At level 4, we're going to stay in Rogue, but some of these unlocks aren't all that on character. For instance, Dirty Trick, Flick of the Wrist. He's not really a dirty fighter. He's an honorable fighter, so he's probably not going to flick his weapon at somebody. Vicious Mockery, though. I think we can see a little bit of that coming out in that fight with the six-fingered man. So I think that one would be appropriate. And then Santos, again, mostly an honorable fighter. Probably not going to see him use that, but they're there if you want them. And it's also time for the first feat, so we will be doing ability score improvement so that we can even out our dex and our charisma skills. Level 5, we're also going to stay in Rogue so that we can take advantage of Uncanny Dodge. Now at level 6, it's time to switch into the Fighter class. And for the fighting style, it will of course be dueling. Next level, you just unlock your action surge. Now it's time to choose the subclass for the fighter. Now there's two ways you could go with this. You could either go Battle Master or Champion. I think either of those is appropriate to some degree for his character. I'm personally going to go with Battle Master because I think that he is a very educated fighter and he probably learned a lot of specific moves or maneuvers, if you will, during training. So I think this one's a little more flavorful for his character, but Champion works fine too. So for the 3 starting maneuvers, I'm gonna go with Evasive Footwork, Goading Attack, and Menacing Attack. I think Evasive Footwork just applies throughout any of the fights, whereas Goading and Menacing Attack, you really see more of that again in that final fight against the Six-Fingered Man. At this level, we're just unlocking our next feat. And our feat is going to be Defensive Duelist. When attacked while wielding a finesse weapon you're proficient with, you can use a reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your armor class, possibly causing the attack to miss. At this level, we unlock the extra attack. Time for another feat. This one is dealer's choice, really. Pick whatever you feel is appropriate here or whatever you think will make the build more fun for you. I'm just going to go with tough. And then at the final level here, it is time to choose 2 more maneuvers and you do get more superiority die. For the 2 remaining maneuvers, I'm going to go with Disarming Attack and Fainting Attack. And there you have it. That will do it for the build. We will have a small bonus section for this one. Because Inigo Montoya doesn't have any magical qualities about him, we're going to keep this bonus section pretty short and simple. When getting started, try to get your hands on a decent rapier as soon as possible. A +1, a +2, or the harmonic dueler will hold you over for a while. However, once you get to Act 3, you're going to want to get your hands on the best rapier in the game called the Duelist Prerogative. It is a legendary +3 rapier with a lot of added bonuses to it. For one thing, it grants the wielder a greater chance of critical hits and an extra reaction if their offhand is empty. You can also use a reaction to grant additional necrotic damage on a hit. In addition, you also get Challenge to Duel, which is challenging an enemy to attack only you and inflicting bleeding on the target. Withering Cut, which is on a hit with a melee weapon, you can use a reaction to deal additional necrotic damage equal to your proficiency bonus. And Dueler's Enthusiasm. While you are not dual wielding and your offhand is empty, you can make an additional melee attack with the Dueler. That will do it for the Inigo Montoya build. I hope you enjoyed it. What other builds do you want to see in the future? And what other games would you be interested in seeing builds from? Leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching.